listening to Blue Jays Nation Radio with Cam Lewis and Tyler Yaremchuk, a member of the Nation network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash.
Episode 109 of Blue Jays Nation Radio. Yaremchuk and Coombsy. Threw a little flair on that one because I'm feeling good because the Jays took 3 of 4 from the Trash Birds.
That's what they did. They went into Baltimore and reminded the Orioles just who they are. The problem with the Orioles this year is that they're not playing the role we expected them to play, which is that the Jays were going to play Baltimore, 10 times in September, kick the piss out of them. It was going to be a nice, easy ride into the playoffs. But for some reason, the Orioles are having a nice little scratchy breakout season. But rather than going into Baltimore and struggling, what the Jays did is, like I said, reminded the Orioles that they are the Trash Birds.
They increased the distance between them and Baltimore, who's on the outside looking in terms of the playoff picture. The Orioles now 4.5 games back of the Blue Jays because the Jays took 3 of 4, gained 2 games on them over the last week. Let's get into this thing with our 3 up, 3 down for the series against Baltimore, starting with the opener, or should I say openers. It was a Monday doubleheader that saw the Blue Jays put up 15 runs on the Orioles. The bats came alive, and what was maybe more important was that the pitching was solid as well. And in back-to-back games, we gave credit last episode to John Schneider for maneuvering the rotation against Pittsburgh and making it work so you could go Gausman Barrios in a big set of games against Baltimore. It paid off. Gausman goes 6 2/3, only allows 2 runs, strikes out 6. Jose Barrios goes 6 innings, only allows 2 runs, only strikes out 2 in the process. Granted, he gave up 8 hits, but still, that was a solid outing from Jose Barrios. Credit to John Schneider, credit to those 2 arms for coming through and giving the Jays a couple of quality starts when they needed it.
That's exactly what they needed. And that's why John Schneider went and did the gymnastics. That's why we had the Trevor Richards, Yusei Kikuchi weird little spot start that we were kind of just like, oh, geez, why are you doing this? You're risking losing a game to the Pittsburgh Pirates, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is why they did it. And they had 2 of their good veteran pitchers go into Baltimore and start things off right. That really was the key part of the series that Monday, the 2-day swing. You wanted to, at the very least, go in and split. Obviously, going in and getting swept in that 2 games would really have sucked. It would have given Baltimore like a tremendous amount of confidence. And that's what the Blue Jays were avoiding this week. So they had 2 good starters go in. Kevin Gausman, masterclass, though he did have some difficult times with the umpire. And that could have gone sideways.
Yeah, and actually that was sort of Bo Bichette's first big moment of the series, was actually coming in and getting in between Gausman and the umpire. Blue Jays starter called on a balk, and not only did he disagree with it, he vehemently disagreed with it. Yeah, like he was pissed.
Kevin Gausman was ready to go and throw hands with the ump. He was walking. He looked heated. He looked fired up. Bo Bichette got in the middle, calmed him down. Gausman goes and tosses a gem. This series could have been so different. Yeah. If Gausman got booted from that game, and what was it, like the 3rd inning, 2nd inning? Like it was pretty early in the game. So
it was very early.
Yeah. So that would have made things super ugly. But instead, the Jays got 2 quality starts from 2 of their veteran arms and really set the tempo for the week.
Man, I'm just watching it again, and he like beelined right off the mound and goes right at that umpire. Like that wasn't sometimes you see, I'd kind of call it like fake outrage, right? Where a guy's just arguing a call, but he's just sort of running his mouth.
Hold me back.
Yeah. Kevin Gausman was like legitimately pissed off on that play. But that fueled him. Gausman Barrios, they get our first up for this series. Bo Bichette comes in, make sure Kevin Gausman doesn't get too out of control. And then what does he do for the rest of the series? Well, it's the arrival of what people are calling Bo Timber, because he is on an absolute roll. Coom.
People are saying Bo Timber, but I said from the Blue Jays Nation account that September is going to be the Bo Bichette redemption tour. This has been a difficult season for Bo. He hasn't heated up yet. Well, I mean, this is obviously his heat up, but so far previously in the season, we haven't had a stretch in which Bo Bichette's gone nuclear. But like we've said in every single podcast, pretty much last little while, if Bo gets hot now and into the playoffs, then we're going to forget pretty much what's happened the entirety of the season. And that's what we had in this series. Bo goes 10 for 19 and hits 4 home runs against Baltimore, just lights them up completely. It's a completely different Bo at the plate. He's taking balls, he's working counts, he's fouling pitches off. He just looks completely dialed in. It looks like he's ready to put what happened in the season before this behind him and have a huge month.
His OPS over his last 7 games is over 1.6.
So like 1,600.
Yeah, it's over 1,600. That's bananas. In his last 7 games, so that's the Baltimore series and the Pittsburgh series, Bo Bichette is hitting .516. That's his batting average. He has 5 home runs in that span and just 31 ABs. More or less averaging 0.8 home runs a game at this point. It's crazy the run he's on. We've obviously talked about him a lot throughout the season, generally in a negative way. A lot of people growing tired of the Bo Bichette thing. But again, guys, any kind of player goes through prolonged bad stretches. Lots of players go through and have bad seasons sometimes. That happens. But we said it on the last episode, Bo Bichette, Jose Barrios, we lumped into this as well, can totally change the narrative of his season with what he does down the stretch and into the playoffs. And I don't think we're going to see him hit .516 for the rest of the year, but he's doing that right now. Like, he was their MVP against Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what he's been so far in September. He had the huge bases loaded hit against the Pirates as well. So he comes into the first game of September, which is the first game of the Pittsburgh series, with a 725 OPS for the season. Since then, they played 7 games, 3 against the Pirates, 4 against the Orioles, and his OPS is now up to 776. Like, it's just one good week can just completely change everything.
That's a pretty remarkable jump in just a 7-day
It's
span.
huge.
Yeah. So Bo Bichette, without a doubt, gets our second up. He was doing it with the long ball. He was doing it just ripping base hits as well. Just doing it all. I think he had 1 error in that series, but other than that, defense fine. Like, no complaints for what Bo Bichette did to carry them through, especially the first 3 games of that series. In the 4th game of that series, it was an Alek Manoah start, and he cemented himself as a premier pitcher in baseball with the way he came out. It's a big game. You're trying to avoid just splitting against Baltimore, kind of like a 2-game sort of swing in the standings. And Alek Manoah throws 8 innings and only allows 1 earned run. Wow.
Yeah. The third game of the series, the Mitch White start, which we'll touch on, was a frustrating one for the Jays, and very easily Baltimore could have come in and erased what the Jays accomplished on that fantastic Monday. They win the Tuesday game. They could have come in on Wednesday, split the series, and they would be coming out of that series with all the momentum. They would have been the team feeling good. Hey, we can catch the Jays. But instead, Alek Manoah goes out and puts together, I think, probably his best start of the season. He goes 8 innings, this is the second time he's done so all year. The first time was back in May against Cincinnati. He went 8 innings, allowed 1 earned run. This game, he also goes 8 innings and allows 1 earned run, but only on 3 hits. 3 hits and 1 walk. He strikes out 5. Just a dominant start. And again, the interesting thing about Manoah, as we've been talking about this since August. Okay, he's reached a career high in innings. His velocity is gonna dip. He's gonna start to struggle, but it hasn't happened. He just continues to get better as time goes along, and he's just showing that he's more of a pitcher than just some fireball thrower. He can put together excellent starts even when he doesn't have his sharpest stuff. Even if his velocity isn't that high or his slider's not clicking that much, he can still just grind through and dominate a team like the Orioles.
His shortest start this season is 5 innings.
That's incredible.
Like that right there shows you the quality of his arm. Like you said, when he doesn't have his stuff, for a lot of pitchers, when they don't have their stuff, it's loading up the bases with walks, it's giving up hard contact, and you just can't get out of it, right? You're out of the game in 2 1/3 or 3 innings. For Manoah, even when he doesn't have his A stuff and maybe the fastball slider combo isn't working great, he just finds a different way to get through these jams. So again, his shortest start this season, and it's only happened twice where he's gone exactly 5 innings. He's pitched into the 6th inning in every other start he's had this year. He's now pitched into the 8th inning a total of 5 times, like you said, getting through 8 innings twice this season. It's a guy especially when you look, like, he always does well at Yankee Stadium, right?
Yep.
Big starts for him. He did well in that start in Pittsburgh, where it was a homecoming for him.
It was.
He had a lot of family in the stands.
It was a big game for him.
It was a big game for him, but he gets up for it and he rises to the challenge. He's a guy who I just think going into the playoffs, if it's a must-win game, I almost pick him over Gausman.
You think so? It's a fantastic problem to have.
For one reason, he got that dog in him.
He does have that dog. There's a reason we call him the big man. And it's not just because he weighs, he's 6'6", 280 pounds. It's because he's the big man. He goes out to the mound and he puts together these huge, important starts. And it was the same thing. I remember when Marcus Stroman was here for years, everybody was like, Marcus Stroman's fantastic in big games. He always comes through when the pressure's high. Alek Manoah is the exact same.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong. Once the playoffs roll around, then that's probably your game 1 starter right there. I feel very confident with Alek Manoah going to the mound in all these games against September, no matter who they're playing or in what situation.
So the next game he's scheduled to start. Granted, they could still do some maneuvering, and we'll get to that in a bit. But his next start is likely going to be one of the two games in the doubleheader on Tuesday against Tampa Bay. Okay, well, when you're playing a doubleheader and you want to save your bullpen and save your big bullpen arms, having an Alek Manoah start where he can potentially get you 8 innings, that's music to my ears. That's going to be a massive start for Manoah at the Dome against a team that you're chasing in a 4-game series. His next start's going to be even bigger than his last, and that's a trend that'll likely continue for the rest of the season.
The other thing with Manoah that I wanted to bring up is, man, I really want to just see them let him rip and go 9 innings. I really want to see him complete a complete game.
We talked about this on the last episode, but you got to save his bullets at the same time. The last thing you need is this guy to run out of gas in the wild card round. Yeah,
there's no reason to let Manoah pitch that 9th inning against Pittsburgh or the 9th inning against the Orioles when you're up by 3 runs. It's unnecessary, but it would be cool. I mean, that's just the old school baseball fan in me. Growing up watching Roy Halladay go the distance as frequently as he did, I'd now really like to see Alek Manoah in a playoff hunt just do that. It would have been fun to see him do 9 innings against the O's just to kind of have that, but you understand why they don't. But
yeah, you're right though. Just the fan side in you wants to see it. The analyst side, if we can call it that, totally gets where they're coming from.
My head understands, but my heart is I would love to see Alek Manoah pitch 9.
So when was the last time a J would have thrown? It would have been Stroman, I think, back in 2017 was the last time a pitcher threw a complete game.
Maybe. Something like that. Did Hyunjin Ryu ever do it in 2020?
Not in a 9-inning game.
Guess. I don't think he did though.
Yeah. In a 9-inning game, I think the last one to do it would have been Stroman that year. Anyways.
Never happens anymore. How many complete games have there been in baseball this year? 12? If that.
I'm looking it up.
It's just one of those things that's totally fallen off the advent of the 9-inning. Yeah. Well, there's been no hitters this year, right? There's been at least 1, 2.
There's been a joined one.
Yeah, there was a combined no-hitter.
Yeah, a combined no-hitter.
Oh, no, Dylan Cease was near a no-hitter, but he didn't complete it.
He didn't finish it off. Complete games this season. Sandy Alcantara leads the majors with 4. That's wild. That is actually incredibly impressive. That's
insane. In this day and age to do that.
Only 2 other starters have multiple complete games, and they're Framber Valdez and Aaron Nola, and a total... I can't count that fast on live. Wainwright, Waka, Syndergaard, Sandoval, Rodon, Pavetta, Perez, Montgomery, Mikolas, Chad Kuhl, Green, Espino, Eovaldi, Detmers, Cueto, Corbin, Cease, Bueller, Bieber are the other ones.
Okay.
I hope you all absorbed that.
Bieber.
Yeah.
Love that.
The top of the top for the most part, and then some other randoms mixed in there. But
it actually was kind of an interesting collection of names that was pretty random.
Yeah. So anyways, hope everyone enjoyed me reading those incredibly quickly. Like I said, hope you absorbed them. Let's get to the down from this series against Baltimore, starting with the one game they lost. And it was an ugly one for our friend Mitch White. He's since been sent down to Buffalo. I liked him his first few starts. I really did. Mm-hmm. He showed some good stuff. I still believe in this guy. I think next season, you can pencil him into a rotation spot, in my opinion, next year, especially if a guy like Ross Stripling ends up leaving in free agency because he gets a big bag from someone and all that, right? But right now, you probably can't trust Mitch White in a divisional start.
No. Not in a big game. I wouldn't want to see Mitch White. I wouldn't love to see Mitch White making a start against the Rays. I wouldn't love it.
So do you start him on Sunday against the Rangers? Because they have that as TBD. So if you go and you beat Texas games 1 and 2, do you start Mitch White game 3 because it's not an important divisional game and you give him one more chance to see if he sorted it out? Or do you think they sent him down because they want him to figure out his stuff at the AAA level and maybe play an important bullpen role come late September?
Yeah, it's hard to say because with Mitch White, in his starts, he can, even in his bad ones, he can more often get through the order the first time, right? Yeah. So maybe he's a once through the order 3 innings guy.
Yeah.
And that's not terrible. You do, Trevor Richards does an inning or 2 as an opener, and then you bring in Mitch White. Maybe that's the strategy. I don't know, but I think they should manipulate it. So you're not trying to toss Mitch White out there as a starter to go through the Rays order 2 or 3 times. I just don't think it's the right move.
You need to have a shorter leash with him than you've been having. I think.
Yeah. Cause even in his good starts, he doesn't go that deep, right? So his first 3 starts he makes, it's, 4 2/3 against the Twins, 4 2/3 against Cleveland, 4 innings against the Yankees, and he was good there. So his combined ERA in his first 3 starts is 3.38. And then after that, his 5 innings against the Angels, he kind of had to wear that one, allows 7 runs, 4 2/3 against the Cubs, 6 runs. Then his worst start was the one against Baltimore. It's only 2 1/3 innings. So in all 3 of those starts, he's combined for a 13.5 ERA, though the FIP, the fielding independent pitching, is down at 5.28. It's still not very good, but his FIP all told with the Blue Jays is down at 3.82. So he's probably closer to a 4 ERA starter than his 8.17 ERA as a Blue Jay would indicate. I would venture.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they end up lining everyone up here in this Rangers series, because it probably won't be Mitch White on Sunday. We're probably going to get
bullpen day. Maybe Casey Lawrence comes back up. Maybe more Kikuchi innings.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, I mean, they clearly have some amount of trust in Yusei Kikuchi. They use him a lot.
Yeah. John Schneider brought Kikuchi into a leverage situation in that 3rd game,
which was puzzling to me because Bass had thrown under 10 pitches.
That was weird. Yeah.
And I just kind of said, I get that maybe you want the lefty righty and all that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, not necessarily ideal, but I mean, sometimes you can overthink those.
Yeah, I guess situations like this, you kind of want to see what you have with him. At some point, you do have to try him out and see if it works. Okay, the other team has a handful of lefties coming up. Let's see if this guy can actually be a lefty weapon. It didn't work. I can't imagine John Schneider is going to use Yusei Kikuchi in a leverage situation again anytime soon. Maybe against Texas, probably not against the Rays. That would be my guess. I mean, you got to try, right?
Yeah. So right now, Arden Zwelling tweeted this last night. Stripling's going to go Friday. Gosman's going Saturday. Mm-hmm. The debate would be Barrios is on the same amount of rest as Gosman because they pitched in the doubleheader. Do you go Barrios on Sunday, or do you push Barrios one and put him out there Monday night against the Rays? Because then you could go Barrios and then you're going Manoah in one of the doubleheaders. Like, I don't think you can run a 4-man rotation with this doubleheader mixed in there. One of these has to be a bullpen day.
Yeah, one of them's definitely going
either Sunday against Texas or one of the doubleheader games against Tampa.
That's the challenge. So Sunday against Texas, you're like, it's against Texas. Doesn't matter. We can punt this. It's not a 2-win game, right?
Yeah.
It's not, I guess in hockey, you'd call it a 4-point game, baseball, a 2-win game, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn out your entire bullpen right before you go into a series against Tampa, right? Yeah. So maybe it is just a Casey Lawrence situation. You call him up and you're like, hey man, no matter what, you got to log 4 or 5 innings.
I think so. I think you, for lack of a better phrase, punt Sunday against Texas. Try to just hope the bats win it for you. Try to hope Casey Lawrence gives you something you're not expecting. You rely on Richards to get you through the lineup once too. And maybe you find a way to just work through there, because if you do go Barrios on Sunday, well, then you're pitching Manoah on Monday, and then in the doubleheader, what are you doing? Stripling on 3 days rest? Like, that doesn't make sense.
No, you
Stripling,
have to push,
you need to push someone here.
You got to push back Barrios to Monday. Do Manoah in one of the
doubleheaders, because you need to win one of those.
Because this is a massive, outrageous series with Tampa, and then they're also it's 5 games all told, and on Thursday they're also playing at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So they play the night on Wednesday, and then they play the afternoon the following day. So this is going to be a fucking grind.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if you can really necessarily set up your pitchers perfectly in this. I think the reality
you might actually need to do 2 bullpen days mixed in.
You might have to, yeah.
Or you call it Mitch White again and roll the dice there. But
you might just have to. That's the way she goes.
Okay, we're still talking about the Baltimore series. We got derailed a little bit there with all the rotation talk. But the one thing we have marked as a down for the series against the Orioles is Bryan Baker just generally being kind of a weird guy. I don't like... What's his beef with the roster on the Jays is what I don't get.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
And like, it's for people who maybe aren't as plugged in on Twitter, this isn't an isolated incident. So Bryan Baker running his mouth to Teoscar and then running his mouth and flapping his fingers, telling the dugout to keep talking. That causes the benches to clear in this series, and it's a big thing. But this has happened before. He's barked at Bichette. He's barked at Chapman already this year. He seems to have a weird beef with the Toronto Blue Jays. Granted, I don't know if he does this to other teams or not.
Yeah.
He's a former Blue Jay. But what, are you mad at the players because the team didn't bring you back? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. So for those who don't know, Bryan Baker is one of the prospects the Jays got back all the way back in 2018 when they traded Seung-Hwan Oh to Colorado. So he's one of the prospects they had there. He was in their system at the end of that season, 2019, then the COVID year, he's at the alt site. And then last year he puts up a pretty solid season for AAA Buffalo. He pitches 41 innings, has a 1.31 ERA. He gets a call up to the Blue Jays, only tosses one inning. And then he gets designated for assignment and claimed off of waivers by the Orioles in November ahead of the Jays doing their roster shuffle for what should have been the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah.
So maybe he's mad at the organization. Maybe he knew these guys in spring training and just didn't like them. I don't know.
It's weird, man.
He's probably just projecting. He's probably channeling some frustration that he thought he was a part of the team's plans and never really got much of a look. I mean, like I said, he pitched well in AAA and didn't get much of a look last year on the team at all. So maybe he's bitter about it and he's taking it out. Like he can't, shout at Shapiro or Atkins when he's on the field, right? So he's just taking it out on the guys on the Jays, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That gets it down for us.
Weird energy, just dumb shit.
Arash Madani had some pretty good insights into what the Jays dugout was saying about him, though. And it was pretty good. Someone said something along the lines of, the only thing he ever did was win the March Madness pool or
That's
something like that?
Though. Sure. Like, is that an insult?
No, not really. But it's good stuff. Anyways, Bryan Baker, you're a clown.
Yeah.
Do I have like a funny button I could play? No, I don't really. We're in the big studio, so usually Bryan Baker, you're a clown. That's fun. That's not even appropriate.
I like that. That's good.
Oh, that one sucks.
Sure.
All right, we're moving on. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. recently. His numbers are spooky bad, Coombsy.
They are. It's we've traveled back in time to 2019, and everything he's hitting is on the ground.
Yeah.
He's in the month of September, he's gone 4 for 32, which is that's shocking. I mean, I don't know. It's only a 1 week cold streak, but it's weird to see him kind of revert all the way back. This was such a thing that we talked about a few years ago. His launch angle was wrong. He wasn't getting the ball up enough. So I don't know. I'm honestly confounded. I thought when we had this conversation, I don't know, last year or 2 years ago or whatever it was, he'd just sorted it out and it wouldn't be a thing again. But as we've talked about with Bo is, progression of athletes is not linear. And just because Vladdy had a fantastic 2021 that was pretty much flawless doesn't mean he's going to have a great 2022 and he's still been okay.
But it does mean he's going to have a bad 2023.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. It also doesn't mean he's going to have a bad second half of September or a bad playoff run. I mean, he just had a really good streak in which he had a hit in 19 games in a row or something. And just because not every single one's a dinger, it doesn't mean he's not contributing. His defense has also been phenomenal as well.
Yeah, save that one play.
There was one fuck up.
It was the ground ball that he probably could have dove and tried to knock down. It goes to the fence. It's a triple. They score runs, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he's struggling right now. Like you said, it doesn't mean he's going to be bad for the rest of the year. Sometimes a switch just flips and you find a way to revert back to what you're doing. Yeah, just look at Bo, like you said. For me, it's the amount of, I call them non-competitive swings. Yeah. Like it's a slider that is like starting on the outside edge and finishing a foot off the plate. And he's just kind of like waving at it with one hand on his bat by the end of his swing. And it's like last year, Vladdy didn't do that as much as he's doing it right now. So it's the non-competitive swings that are just driving me a little bit crazy. And also the lack of, being able to be productive with runners in scoring position. That's just, for me,
to shorten up the swing and just maybe pop a single.
Yeah. If you've lost your power, if you're not feeling confident, shorten up your swing. Look at what Alejandro Kirk did in this series. He's a guy who struggled for a while.
Yeah. He was cold for a while. No one was talking about it.
Yeah. Almost because like the first half of the season was so surprising, the All-Star, that we all, I think, collectively felt like, hey, a cold streak's coming for Alejandro Kirk. It was maybe longer than we thought, but what was he doing against Baltimore?
He was shortening it up
and dropping them in there.
Yep.
You don't need to hit one to the fence every time. And I think Vladdy is maybe a guy who could watch something like that and go, hey, next time I'm up with runners in scoring position, I'm just going to shorten up the swing a little bit and see what happens, because game 1 of this series, he left 3 guys on base. Game 2, he left 4 guys on base. Game 3, he left 1 more on base as well. So, you got to figure that out.
He'll probably turn it around though. That's kind of the thing to learn with the Bo situation is where like this guy's having terrible at bats. He's swinging at everything. And then all of a sudden something clicks and it works. I imagine Vladdy will turn it around. Yeah. It is what it is. And at the very least, he's been very good defensively.
Yep. And that's always,
that's good.
I was chatting with our friend Bagged Milk, and he asked me if Vladdy Guerrero Jr. could be in the mix for the Gold Glove this year. And I said, probably not. His defense has been good, but probably not at that level. But it's not like, it's pretty wild to think. It's not a crazy thing to say that in the next 5 years, he could win a Gold Glove. And 2 years ago, people would have laughed at you if you said that.
Absolutely. Like when he was coming up as a prospect, it was like, is this guy ever going to stand on the field? It was like, maybe this guy's kind of just like the long-term DH, but I mean, he made the switch over permanently in 2020. And it's been, there was some hiccups. Remember at the beginning, he was always diving for balls he shouldn't dive for. And it was just kind of like the third baseman's approach to first base. But now he's been fantastic. He, scoops and picks balls at first. There can be difficult throws that he catches. Like that one play he makes with Alek Manoah where he flips it around his back, Bartolo Colon style.
Sick.
Like it's good defense. And to be totally honest with you, I wouldn't be fully shocked at all if he did win the Gold Glove this year, or at least was a finalist. Yeah. Who are the other first basemen around the American League? Like I'm just trying to think.
Anthony Rizzo. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Gold Glove race that much, but
no, it's one of those things you pay attention to for like 2 days when they announce the finalists, and then you get outraged about something.
And that's the thing is like it's selected by a bunch of managers, right? So you're going to have guys in the American League West who saw him play 6 times this year.
Ryan Mountcastle could be in the mix, maybe.
Yeah, try and decide who the Gold Glove's supposed to be. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we all know Vladdy's good defensively at first base, and that's the win.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's take a look around the American League here. The Yankees went out and they
swept the Twins. That's what they do. The Twins and the Yankees, man. Like, I swear the Minnesota Twins haven't beaten the Yankees in a game in like a decade. Some fucked up thing like that. Minnesota also hasn't won a playoff game in what was it, like 21 games?
Very long time. Yeah.
That's nuts.
But yeah, so the Yankees have now won 4 in a row. They're up to 5-5 in their last 10. The other series that we're keeping an eye on, the Rays swept the Red Sox. The Mariners lost 2 of 3 to the White Sox. But when you look at the last 10 games, the Mariners are I'd still consider them red hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Mm-hmm. Tampa, Toronto, Seattle, all 8-2 in their last 10. Someone is going to cool off. All 3 of those teams will not stay hot for the next 2 weeks.
No,
someone's cooling off. Just hoping it's not the Jays, obviously.
Yeah, and we also have a big head-to-head coming up, of course. Yeah. There's Tampa and Toronto, and obviously 2 teams can't be hot in that head-to-head.
Yeah, just looking. So the Jays obviously go Texas and then Tampa. The Mariners' schedule is actually pretty interesting just with the amount of interleague play they have coming up. They get Atlanta, they go San Diego,
that's tough.
And then they go Angels, A's, Royals,
so that's
Rangers.
The easy part, yeah.
Well, their whole schedule is actually like, it's just so ridiculous that Jays
that's what happens when you get to play in those fucking divisions, man.
Right? So you get 4 against the Angels, walk. Get 3 against the A's, 3 against the Royals, 3 against the Rangers. Oh, what do you get? Another series against the A's. Then you end the season with 4 against the Tigers. They don't play a team above 500 after this series against San Diego for the rest of the season.
So they finished all their games against Houston, which is the only good team in that division beyond them. That's unfortunate. That sucks. That's that's why the Jays are really going to have to take care of business against Tampa because they have no head-to-heads with Seattle. So there's not much they can really do about it.
So by this time next week, like I said, the Mariners will be at a point in their schedule where they do not play a single team above 500 for the rest of the season, where the Jays will play all but 3 games against teams above 500.
Yeah, it's just the Rangers now that are under 500, right? That's the only team left.
Well, and Boston is 4 games under 500.
Yes, but
so they could.
The Red Sox being a sub 500 team, that's kind of like, they're not that bad.
It's just, the schedule is not easy for the Jays. People know that. And it's just frustrating to see how easy it is for the Mariners. Granted, wins are never guaranteed, but I like that you said it highlights the importance of that Tampa Bay series because it's going to be difficult to catch Seattle with their schedule the way it is. You need to take care of Tampa Bay. That is your hope to have a home.
Oh, they wouldn't.
Well, you're still not getting. Yeah, you're still going to Seattle.
That's an interesting thing to talk about. Actually, would you rather finish 3rd or 2nd in the wild card race? Would you rather go and play the Central League team or go and be the 2nd team and either play in Tampa or Seattle? I would rather play the Central team.
I'd rather play Cleveland. Cleveland's 7 wins worse than Cleveland is 2 wins worse than Baltimore, and they're going to make the playoffs.
Like I'm looking at the Central teams, and I'm like, oh geez, like there's some good pitching here. The White Sox have good pitching. Cleveland has good pitching. If I'm going to play any of these teams, I'd like for the Twins to be the Central Division winner.
Yeah, you could beat the Twins.
I think for the sake of fun, going into Seattle will be a blast.
Yeah.
Going into Tampa, I don't think I would even watch it. I wouldn't watch a series at the Trop. I watched it in 2020 and I won.
I would also take Minnesota over Cleveland because then you're avoiding the Shane Bieber aspect. I don't want to face Shane Bieber.
But if you're the other team, you got to face Alek Manoah and Kevin Gausman. Yep.
And then the combination of Stripling Barrios in game 3 if it gets there.
Well, that's the thing is you probably start Barrios in game 3 and then you just have Stripling
ready to go.
As your arm that could come into any game.
Man. Oh, yep. I'm just thinking.
I kind of hope it does wind up being Seattle. It's not.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
Like I should be cheering for the Jays to finish and host the game, but I would love to see a Canada takeover of Seattle in Seattle's first playoff game since 2001.
Then the garbage Rays.
Yeah, the
organization gets to play the Twins will get in on the last day of the regular season and have to like burn their best pitcher to get there in like the last 2 games, and they'll just get swept in 2 games. But
it's a series that nobody watches. It's Tampa and Minnesota. It's
cold as hell in Minnesota.
This is boring.
3-1 games. All right, okay, we're gonna step aside for a quick break, and then we're gonna get excited for the upcoming series against the Rangers. All right, Coombsy, it is a weekend 3-gamer that starts on Friday against the Texas Rangers. This is a Rangers team that is not that good. They are 1-9 in their last 10 games. Like we said, this marks the final easy spot on the Toronto Blue Jays schedule. You need to take care of business. You need to sweep this series. Anything less, failure.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Rangers since all the way back at the start of the season. Opening day, Jose Barrios had a complete implosion. The Jays went down 1-0 in the second inning, and then they came back and won the game 10-8, and that was insane. The Jays picked up another win the following day after that, 4-3, and then Texas came back and beat them 12-6. This feels like ancient history. This feels like this happened 6 years ago.
It does.
It's insane. This was just a few months ago. It feels like a different lifetime. But yeah, like you said, the Rangers are far from good. They're 59-77. They have some okay pitchers, but their offense, there ain't much going on there. It's interesting to me that Martin Perez has kind of just come full circle and become their ace. It's very out of the blue. He has a 2.82 ERA after putting up a 4.74 and a 4.50 ERA in Boston the past couple of years when he was with. I mean, you may or may not remember because I think he pitched in the ALDS against the Jays in 2015. That was one of the ones they won in Texas. He was a back of the rotation starter at that time. Now suddenly he's become good. Very random. Their offense ain't very good. It's kind of funny. They went and spent $500 million on Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and both players have an OPS under 800 this year. Corey Seager.
Remember when everyone was, you got to bring back Semien, got to find a way to bring back Semien. It was like, hey, even if you bring back Marcus Semien, you were not replacing his production. No, everyone knew he wasn't doing that again.
He's still been good, to be fair. Like Marcus Semien's been a good player. According to Baseball Reference, Semien ranks second on the team in wins above replacement at 4.4, and Corey Seager ranks third at 3.5. So, never a bad thing to go and sign a big free agent, but no, going back to the Marcus Semien talk, the season that he had last year, it's hard to imagine he would ever do that again, but still a very good player, obviously. But
so game 1, Dane Dunning is going to get the ball for the Rangers. In his last 3 starts, he's pitched 14 innings and allowed 11 earned runs, giving up 22 hits in the process and walking 6 batters. In game 2, it's going to be Kohei Arihara, 30-year-old. He's only started 4 games this year for Texas. Hasn't been great by any stretch. He's had a couple of okay outings, or he's had one really good outing. And then you mentioned it, Martin Perez is going to get the series finale on Sunday. That's concerning because it's Perez going up against what we are assuming is going to be a Blue Jays bullpen day. But Perez was lights out earlier in the season. His numbers have taken a bit of a hit recently. In the month of August, his ERA rose from 2.47 to 2.89. He had a 4.24 ERA in the month of August.
Okay.
So he's not pitching as well as he was earlier on in the season.
Probably running out of gas a little bit.
But he did just go 7 strong and only allow 1 earned run against Houston. So he's still got some stuff. That's concerning. Game 3 is concerning. That's all. That's my take. So
the thing to look at here is get the job done in game 1 and 2. You have Stripling and Dane Dunning, Gausman going up against this guy who's made 4 starts at the big league level and has a 5.6 ERA or whatever it is. You got to capitalize in those 2 games because the Martin Perez game is going to be a tough one on Sunday. Yeah, that's what you need.
All right. Well, let's see if the Jays can get it done. Shout out to our friends at PointsBet Canada. They'll have all your odds up if you are a sports bettor in Ontario. Also, shout out to our friends at DoorDash, proud sponsor of the pod. Promo code BJNPODDD gets you 25% off, no delivery fees on your first order, Coombsy.
We didn't talk about Nate Pearson.
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, we want to do this. All right.
We completely forgot that Nate Pearson appeared in Buffalo on Thursday.
Okay.
We're recording this right now, and he pitched a scoreless inning with a strikeout.
Who'd he face?
He faced, I just had this up.
Jake Marisnick.
It was
Ozzie Albies.
It was Ozzie Albies is on a rehab stint, and then he struck out Jake Marisnick, and then he also got Hernan Perez to fly out to center field.
Getting Hernan Perez to fly out, that's not something just anyone can do.
This is Nate Pearson going up against some big leaguers. Ozzie Albies, Jake Marisnick. Sure, these are real guys.
So how many more times do you want to see him come out of the pen in Buffalo till he's up here?
That's a good question, because knowing Nate Pearson, he can throw exactly 32 pitches a year, and he probably just threw 10 or 12 or whatever in Buffalo. So maybe just call him up now and use his bullets. See what happens.
I'd give him one more start or one more appearance. One more appearance, shake off the cobwebs. You're ready to go. Let's get him in the bullpen up here. You just need to catch lightning in a bottle for like 5 weeks with this guy, and he could be a very valuable part of your bullpen. Screw it. Bring him up for Sunday. Make him the opener Sunday against Texas.
That's what I'm thinking. Why not? Like you have kind of an open day to fuck around there. Maybe give him and Merriweather some innings. See what happens. It'll be fun.
Down 8-0 after the third.
Pretty electric.
All right. Well, we'll see what ends up happening. I'm not betting on a Pearson appearance this weekend, but I will say I bet you we get one
before the end of the year for sure. He'll be up.
Here's my take. I'm going to be in Toronto watching them against Baltimore coming up. I'm going to be there on the 16th and 17th. I'm going to bet you I see Nate Pearson pitch live.
Do you think so?
And I'll post some content.
Yeah? You think he's going to pitch well? Do you believe?
Yeah, I believe.
You believe?
I'm on the Pearson train now, Coombsy. You convince me.
I'm going to go and watch videos of him pitching in that meaningless game in the playoffs against Tampa when they're already losing by a bunch, and he was really good to get me hyped up about Nate Pearson.
All right. Okay, let's get hyped up for the series against Texas. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Eastern, then at 2:30 Eastern on Sunday to wrap it up. Enjoy the series, and we'll be back on Monday morning to get you set for a big 4-gamer, a 5-gamer against the Tampa Bay Rays.
That is so fucked.
Thanks for tuning in to Blue Jays Nation Radio, a member of the Nation Network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from to never miss an episode.